What happens when a routine traffic stop spirals into a tragedy that ignites a nationwide outcry for justice? The harrowing story of Tyre Nichols is not just about one man's untimely death. It's a reflection of deep-seated issues within our society, raising questions about police conduct, systemic racism, and the very fabric of justice in America. Welcome to True Crime Stories Archive, your portal into the haunting realm of real-life horror. In this sanctuary of truth, we illuminate the shadowed corners of human nature, bringing you stories that will leave an indelible mark on your psyche. Before we delve into today's chilling narrative, take a moment to join our community of truth seekers by hitting that subscribe button. On a crisp January evening in 2023, the streets of Memphis would become the stage for a tragedy that would send shockwaves across America. What began as a routine traffic stop would spiral into a nightmare, forever altering the lives of countless individuals and igniting a nationwide conversation about power, justice, and humanity. January 7, 2023, started like any other day in Memphis, Tennessee. The winter air held a bitter chill as Tyre Nichols, a 29-year-old FedEx worker and passionate photographer, made his way home. The city lights painted shadows across the streets as he navigated through the familiar roads of his neighborhood. Little did he know that this ordinary drive would become his final journey. At approximately 8:30 p.m., in an area known as Rains Road, red and blue lights pierced through the darkness. Memphis Police Department officers initiated what they claimed was a traffic stop for reckless driving. However, the events that would unfold in the next few minutes would raise serious questions about this initial justification. Tyre Nichols wasn't just another name in a police report. He was a father who cherished every moment with his 4-year-old son, a skilled photographer who found beauty in the world around him, particularly during sunset, his favorite time to capture images. His friends knew him as someone who could light up any room with his presence, a peaceful soul who loved skateboarding and had recently discovered a passion for photography that allowed him to see the world through a different lens. The officers who approached Tyre's vehicle that night were members of the now disbanded Scorpion Unit, a specialized police task force created to address violent crime in high-crime areas. The unit's aggressive tactics had already drawn criticism from community members, but nothing could have prepared Memphis for what was about to transpire. The initial interaction between Tyre and the officers quickly escalated. Body camera footage would later reveal a scene that defied explanation, a violent confrontation that began almost immediately after Tyre was pulled from his vehicle. The officer's aggressive approach stood in stark contrast to Tyre's known character as a gentle, non-confrontational individual. As the encounter intensified, the darkness of that January night seemed to deepen. Body camera footage would later reveal that Tyre, overwhelmed by the aggressive approach of the officers, attempted to flee on foot. This instinctive response to a threatening situation would set in motion a chain of events that would culminate in unimaginable violence. The pursuit lasted approximately 7 minutes. Through the residential streets of Memphis, Tyre ran, perhaps driven by an instinct for survival that would tragically prove futile. The officers, rather than de-escalating the situation, radioed for backup. Their calls echoed through the night, drawing more officers to the scene. At around 8:44 p.m., less than a quarter mile from his home, Tyre was caught. What followed was a display of brutality that would shock even the most hardened observers. Multiple officers descended upon him, unleashing a barrage of physical violence that included pepper spray, baton strikes, and repeated kicks and punches. The assault lasted several minutes, during which Tyre's pleas for mercy went unheeded. The location of this brutal encounter, just 100 yards from his mother's house, adds another layer of devastating irony to this tragedy. Within earshot of the place he should have felt safest, Tyre endured what would prove to be fatal abuse. Throughout the ordeal, he called out for his mother, a heart-wrenching detail that would later resonate deeply with millions who would hear his story. During these harrowing moments, more than half a dozen officers were present at the scene. Some actively participated in the violence, while others stood by, failing to intervene or provide immediate medical assistance. The code of silence that would initially surround this incident speaks volumes about the systemic issues plaguing law enforcement. The brutality of the assault was methodical and prolonged. Officers took turns delivering blows, their actions captured in horrifying detail by both body cameras and nearby surveillance equipment. The footage would later reveal not just the physical violence, but also the casual manner in which the officers conducted themselves afterward, suggesting a disturbing disconnect from the gravity of their actions. As Tyre lay handcuffed and critically injured on the cold pavement, crucial minutes ticked by without proper medical attention. The officers milled about, some even engaging in casual conversation, while a young man's life hung in the balance. This period of inaction would later become a crucial point of scrutiny in the investigation. In the immediate aftermath of the beating, a surreal atmosphere descended upon the scene. While Tyre lay grievously wounded on the asphalt, the officers involved displayed a chilling casualness that would later haunt investigators and viewers of the footage alike. For 23 agonizing minutes, Tyre remained propped against a police vehicle, his injuries growing more severe with each passing moment. Emergency medical services finally arrived, but precious time had already been lost. The paramedics found Tyre in a critical state, his body bearing the brutal evidence of the assault he had endured. As they rushed him to St. Francis Hospital, his vital signs were already showing alarming instability. The doctors who received him would later describe his injuries as catastrophic. Meanwhile, the initial police report painted a drastically different picture from what had actually transpired. It described a routine traffic stop and claimed Tyre had been combative, a narrative that would soon crumble under the weight of video evidence. This discrepancy between the official account and reality would become a crucial element in the subsequent investigation. For 3 days, Tyre fought for his life in the intensive care unit. His family maintained a constant vigil at his bedside, watching helplessly as medical professionals battled to save their loved one. The injuries were extensive: severe internal bleeding, multiple organ failure, and devastating brain damage. On January 10, 2023, despite the best efforts of medical staff, Tyre Nichols succumbed to his injuries. The news of his death sent ripples through the Memphis community. Those who knew Tyre struggled to reconcile the gentle soul they remembered with the violent end he met. His mother, Rovon Wells, would later share how her son had brightened every room he entered with his infectious smile and kind heart. His passion for photography, particularly his love for capturing sunsets, stood in stark contrast to the darkness that claimed his life. The Memphis Police Department's initial response to Tyre's death was bureaucratic and detached. However, as pressure mounted from community leaders and activists, the investigation began to intensify. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation stepped in, promising a thorough examination of the incident. The FBI and Department of Justice also launched their own inquiries, recognizing the potential civil rights violations involved. As whispers of the incident began spreading through Memphis, what started as local outrage soon transformed into a national movement. Social media platforms buzzed with demands for transparency, with hashtags related to Tyre's case gaining momentum across every major platform. The public's hunger for truth grew more intense with each passing day. The Memphis Police Department, facing mounting pressure, made an unprecedented decision. On January 20, 2023, they announced the termination of 5 officers directly involved in the incident: Tadarius Bean, Demetrius Haley, Emmett Martin III, Desmond Mills Jr., and Justin Smith. All 5 officers, notably, were black, a detail that would later spark complex discussions about systemic police violence transcending racial lines. But the department's response didn't stop there. Further investigation revealed more disturbing details about that fateful night. 2 additional Memphis police officers were relieved of duty. 3 Memphis Fire Department personnel were also terminated for failing to properly assess and render aid to Tyre. The Scorpion unit, which the involved officers belonged to, was permanently deactivated, a direct response to the growing public outcry. The city held its breath as authorities prepared to release the body camera footage. Police Chief Saralyn Davis took the unusual step of warning the public about the brutal nature of what they were about to witness. She described the footage as heinous, reckless, and inhumane, words that would prove to be an understatement. On January 27, 2023, the world witnessed what happened to Tyre Nichols. Multiple camera angles captured the horrifying sequence of events. The footage showed far more than just police brutality. It revealed a complete breakdown of humanity. The casual nature of the violence, the lack of immediate medical response, and the apparent indifference to human suffering shocked even the most seasoned law enforcement experts. The release of the footage sparked immediate protests across the country. From Memphis to New York, from Los Angeles to Chicago, Americans took to the streets. Unlike previous protests against police violence, these demonstrations united people across racial and political lines. The sheer brutality captured on video transcended typical dividing lines, creating a moment of rare national consensus about the need for police reform. Tyre's family, through their unimaginable grief, emerged as powerful voices for change. Their dignity in the face of loss, their calls for peaceful protest, and their unwavering demand for justice resonated with millions. Rovon Wells, Tyre's mother, became a symbol of both profound sorrow and remarkable strength, her words touching hearts across the nation. The legal response to Tyre's death moved with unusual swiftness. On January 26, 2023, all 5 former officers were charged with second-degree murder, aggravated assault, aggravated kidnapping, official misconduct, and official oppression. The severity and speed of these charges marked a significant departure from typical police brutality cases, where charges often face lengthy delays if they materialize at all. The criminal proceedings revealed disturbing details about the culture within the Scorpion Unit. Created in October 2021 to address rising crime rates, the unit had developed a reputation for aggressive tactics and minimal oversight. Former residents came forward with accounts of previous encounters, painting a picture of a unit that operated with impunity in Memphis's most vulnerable neighborhoods. The grand jury proceedings brought forth evidence that shook the foundations of law enforcement protocol. Prosecutors presented not only the video footage but also internal communications and training records that suggested systemic failures in police department oversight. The investigation uncovered that several of the accused officers had previous complaints filed against them that had gone largely unaddressed. As the legal process unfolded, a parallel narrative emerged about Tyre's life and dreams. Friends shared stories about his dedication to his work at FedEx, where he would take his dinner break every night to photograph the sunset. His skateboarding videos surfaced online, showing a young man full of joy and life, performing tricks with the same grace he brought to his photography. These glimpses into his personality made the tragedy of his death even more profound. The case sparked intense scrutiny of police training nationwide. Experts pointed out that despite decades of reform attempts, fundamental problems persisted in how officers are trained to handle routine encounters. The fact that this incident involved black officers attacking a black civilian challenged simplified narratives about police violence, forcing a deeper examination of institutional culture and power dynamics. Memphis itself underwent a period of soul-searching. Community leaders organized town halls and forums to discuss police reform. Local government officials proposed new oversight measures, including strengthened civilian review boards and mandatory de-escalation training. The city became a focal point for national discussions about the future of policing in America. The impact rippled through law enforcement agencies across the country. Many departments began reviewing their specialized units and use of force policies. Some cities disbanded similar tactical teams, recognizing the risks of maintaining aggressive police units with minimal oversight. The Tyre Nichols effect became shorthand for a new wave of police reform efforts. As 2023 progressed, Tyre Nichols' case became a catalyst for substantial police reform legislation. Politicians from both sides of the aisle found common ground in addressing police accountability. The Tyre Nichols Police Reform Bill was introduced in Congress, proposing mandatory body cameras, stricter use of force guidelines, and enhanced accountability measures for law enforcement nationwide. The role of medical response in police incidents also came under intense scrutiny. The delayed medical attention Tyre received sparked a national conversation about emergency medical protocols during police encounters. Many cities began requiring paramedics to respond independently to police calls, ensuring medical decisions would be made without law enforcement influence. In Memphis, the transformation was particularly profound. The city implemented the Nichols Protocol, a comprehensive set of police reforms including mandatory cooling-off periods during confrontations, enhanced supervision requirements for specialized units, and immediate medical response protocols. These changes became a model for other cities grappling with similar issues. The art community embraced Tyre's memory in powerful ways. His photography, particularly his sunset collections, was featured in galleries across the country. A scholarship fund was established in his name at the Memphis College of Art, supporting aspiring photographers from underprivileged backgrounds. His work became a symbol of the beauty he saw in the world, standing in stark contrast to the violence that claimed his life. Social media platforms preserved Tyre's skateboarding videos, which gained new meaning as symbols of joy and freedom. Skate parks across America held memorial events, with professional skateboarders joining local youth to honor his memory. These gatherings transcended mere tributes, becoming spaces for community healing and dialogue about police reform. The impact on police recruitment and training proved significant. Police academies nationwide began incorporating the Nichols case into their curriculum as a cautionary tale about the consequences of excessive force and the importance of peer intervention. The concept of active bystandership, the duty to intervene when witnessing misconduct, became a cornerstone of police training. Rovon Wells, Tyre's mother, emerged as a powerful voice for change, speaking at conferences and legislative hearings. Her grace in the face of tragedy and her unwavering commitment to reform touched hearts across political divides. She established the Tyre Nichols Foundation, focusing on police reform, community building, and supporting young artists and athletes. The ripple effects of Tyre Nichols' death continued to transform American society in profound ways. His case became required study material in criminal justice programs across the country, serving as a crucial example of how quickly routine encounters can escalate into tragedy when proper protocols and human dignity are abandoned. Civil rights organizations adopted new strategies based on lessons learned from this case. The unique circumstances, black officers, a black victim, and clear video evidence challenged traditional narratives about police violence and led to more nuanced discussions about systemic reform. The focus shifted from individual racism to institutional power structures and the militarization of police forces. The legal proceedings against the officers became a landmark case in police prosecution. The trial attracted international media attention, with legal experts noting how it set new precedents for holding law enforcement accountable. The prosecution's approach, focusing on the officers' deviation from training and departmental policies, created a template for future cases. In the years following Tyre's death, Memphis underwent a remarkable transformation. Crime rates decreased as community policing initiatives, inspired by the tragedy, took root. The city became known for its innovative approach to public safety, emphasizing de-escalation and community engagement over aggressive enforcement tactics. Tyre's passion for photography inspired a movement within law enforcement. Several police departments started community photography programs, bringing officers and youth together to capture their city's beauty, much as Tyre had done. These programs helped build bridges between law enforcement and communities, creating spaces for mutual understanding and respect. The story of Tyre Nichols remains a powerful reminder of how a single incident can catalyze profound societal change. His death exposed deep-rooted problems in law enforcement while also revealing the potential for meaningful reform. The changes implemented in his name continue to save lives and transform communities. As we conclude this narrative, we must ask ourselves, how can we ensure that Tyre's death continues to drive positive change? What role can each of us play in building a justice system that truly protects and serves all members of society? If this story has moved you, please consider supporting organizations working for police reform and justice system accountability. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to True Crime Stories Archive for more in-depth explorations of cases that have shaped our society. Remember, every like, share, and subscription helps us continue bringing these important stories to light. Together, we can work toward a future where such tragedies become part of history rather than ongoing reality.